with duplicate letters in the title. Let's chat. Hi, my name is Jeanette, and I want to thank you for joining me on the channel Jane Reads. So today I've come at you with some recommendations and possibilities for my September prompt for my yearly reading challenge. Now, I have not updated my reading journal with pictures for the books I've read so far. I'm missing June, July, and August. I have titles written in. I don't know if you can even read that because they're in pencil. But my September prompt is duplicate letters in the title. So I have piles of books beside me to talk about. I have 10 recommendations with a few honorable mentions, and then I have 5 possibilities for me that I could read to fulfill this prompt. Okay, so when I think duplicate letters, my name is Jeanette, so it's Jeanette. So I was thinking duplicate letters beside each other, just like my T's are. However, I also then got thinking duplicate letters in the title, so titles that start with the same letter. So I'm going to give you some samples and some recommendations for both of those kind of options, but they don't even have to be like letters beside each other or letters starting with the same title. Duplicate letters just means it has, like my name has 3 E's in it. Well, that's a duplicate. There's more than one of them. So really, almost any book would fit this prompt because majority of books have at least one letter used twice, if not more, right? Okay, so let's just start with the ones where it has a duplicate letter within the word. So the first book I have is If the Boot Fits by Carrie Witemeyer. This is book number 2 of her Texas Ever After series, but this is a series that is not connected in any way. Characters don't carry over or anything like that, so you can easily read it as a standalone. This one is a historical romance set in 1889 in Texas, and we are following the main female character, whose name is Samantha Deering, and her father is trying to marry her off to kind of a wealthy gentleman, and she's not interested in that. Meanwhile, we have Eli, who does not like Samantha's father and thinks he has done something against Eli's family, and he's trying to find proof of that. And Eli is not a wealthy gentleman, and as kind of suggested, if the boot fits, so somebody lost a boot and now they're trying to match it up and figure out who the owner of the boot is. It's really entertaining the way that they end up meeting and kind of following them and seeing what happens. There is some really difficult topics addressed in this book, but the way that the father, Eli, kind of discovers the knowledge and then accepts that knowledge, I loved the dad. And the romance I just enjoyed following as well. So that is the first book. Okay, book number 2 is No Ocean Too Wide by Carrie Turansky. This is book number 1 of the McAllister family series. And this one is set in 1909. And we follow, I want to say Emily, Laura, not right at all, who is trying to find her siblings. It starts out in London, England, and she's gone off to work for a family to bring money home for her younger siblings that are at home with the mom. Something happens, the siblings get sent to an orphanage. They then get sent over to Canada. And so then Laura is trying to find them to reconnect her family and bring the whole family together again. And I just really enjoyed following this story, and kind of we follow multiple of the siblings' points of view. So we really get to know what's happening, and it travels from London to Canada at a time in history that I did not really know much about. So I learned a lot through this book. And there is a minor romance happening that we're following as well, but I was really rooting for the siblings and Laura to find the siblings and can they reconnect. Now, the honorable mention I have that goes with this one is book number 2 of the series, which is No Journey Too Far. So again, we have 2. So this is book number 2, and it continues. It picks up where this one left, and then continues with some of the sibling stories. So we find out the rest. This one was definitely my favorite of the duology, but I really enjoyed this one as well. Okay, then I have I'll Be Seeing You by Robin Lee Hatcher. This is a dual timeline. It has present day, and the second timeline is 1941. Yeah, I had to check my notes. So we are following, character names are not with me tonight. Brianna, who is the present day granddaughter, and we're following her through college. She's a freshman, junior, she's first or second year of college, I can't remember. And she kind of connects with a boy, and the grandmother, who we end up following her timeline back from 1941. But Brianna is telling her grandmother about this boy she's met, and the grandmother's suspicious about this boy and what's going on. And so we're also learning about the grandmother and her sister, and kind of how they were once close and something happened that kind of fractured that sisterly relationship, and following it. I really enjoyed following both of these storylines and kind of to see how they tie together. I liked following the grandmother kind of teaching the granddaughter. Might even end up being a great-grandmother. Yes, great-grandmother. Kind of showing her great-granddaughter to kind of think about things and question things. And I really enjoyed it. And I also really like this cover. It is such a pretty cover. Okay, now we move up in history a little bit. And I've got the Blackout Book Club by Amy Lynn Green. This one is set in Maine in 1942, so the beginning of World War II. And we are following Avis, who has taken over the role of librarian from her brother, who has gone off to fight in the war. Avis is not a big book person. She's only doing this to help her brother out. A book club is formed within the library to kind of keep the library going, and we have multiple people join this book club who we are following their points of view throughout the story and kind of seeing how the war is affecting them. They each come from a different background, very different lifestyle currently, or different situations in life currently, and they get together at this book club once a month, every few weeks, I don't remember, and talking about the book that they're reading and their different perspectives on it. My favorite part about this book was they keep a notebook from their book club meetings, and each person is responsible to be the secretary. Like, they rotate the secretary position to track in this notebook. And some of the entries that are written in this notebook, because it's like their thoughts, it's not really meant to be read by others, are hilarious. Like, I just really enjoyed it. And it was really interesting to follow multiple points of view and see how they kind of all connected. There is a little bit of romance that develops in this one as well, and I really enjoyed it. Okay, then we have, now we're going completely contemporary, no more historical. Got The Red Door Inn by Liz Johnson. This is book number 1 of her Prince Edward Island Dreams series. In this one, we are introduced to the Red Door Inn, and Maria comes to the island to renovate the bed and breakfast, which becomes the Red Door Inn. And so we're kind of following her story of fixing up this B&B and seeing what happens. This is a contemporary romance, so there is a romance that happens throughout it. And then we meet members of the community who play pivotal roles, especially a couple, play pivotal roles throughout this series. It has been a few years since I read this one, but it is one that I want to reread maybe next year, not this year. But we'll see what happens. Okay, then the last contemporary romance in this category, not contemporary romance, contemporary storyline, is Trial and Error by Robert Whitlow. So we've got the double R's. This is a legal-based story. We are following Bobby Smith. See how I didn't have to look at the character's name? So we are following Bobby Smith, who is a lawyer who kind of specializes, or kind of his side practice interest is to find missing children and reconnect them with their parents. Most of the time, most of his cases are a parent abduction from the other parent and trying to track them down. But he's also trying to find his daughter, who went missing at a very young age, again by the mother of the child. And so we're following that kind of storyline. Is, can he find these kids? Kind of what's his purpose in life? He is not a Christian at the beginning of the book, and we follow him kind of discover Christ and really live for Christ. And there is another character in this one who is a Christian, and her journal entry, like, she dedicates to prayer time and journal entries and praying for people, and very vocal in her faith. And I really enjoyed watching this kind of develop. It could be considered a love triangle because there are two possible relationships happening, like two possible romantic interests for Buddy, and following kind of what's going to happen. But that is not the primary storyline of this. It is really looking for the missing kids, and one kid, well, really the two kids, because there's the main case that Bobby is working on, and then, or Buddy is working on, and then the case with his daughter. But I really liked the story and was really invested in the characters of the story. And then kind of the way it ends and kind of wraps up, it was like perfect. I loved it. Okay, so now we go to duplicate letters in the title, or titles with duplicate letters. So the first one I have is Catching Christmas by Terri Blackstock. So September might be a little bit too early for a Christmas book in my mind, but I was kind of like, okay, I have it. They both start with C. I'm going to include it here. It has been a while since I read this book, but we are following a taxi driver who arrives at a house to pick up an elderly woman and take her to a doctor's appointment. And he is wondering, why isn't family doing this? And kind of as over the course of the day with the woman, with like the grandmother, and then he kind of learns the story and why the family's not doing that. And he really kind of steps in to help. He does not want to be there. He didn't want to take this call to begin with, but as he gets to know, and then the grandmother keeps calling him on for other days, other rides, and a relationship builds between the grandmother and the taxi driver, and then the family member. And I just really enjoyed watching this, and we see the taxi driver's like kind of heart come through for people. I feel like that stack over there is gonna get too tall and topple, but we're gonna keep going. Okay, so then I have Positively Penelope by Pepper Basham. This is book number 2 of the Skymar series. P, both words start with a P, so there's my duplicate. And this was my favorite of the series. I just loved Penelope and her approach to life and happiness, and her love for musicals and Julie Andrews in particular. And she has a possible romance with 2 guys. Which guy is she going to end up with? And then there is the sibling island text email conversations that they have, because she is away from home on the island of Skymar. I don't really know. She is originally from Mount Airy, North Carolina, and so she has family back there that she's communicating with. And I loved Penelope. Like, I just loved her and connected with her. Okay, and then in this series, the honorable mention is Loyally Luke. So, 2 L's. This is book number 3 of the series, and this one we are following Luke, who is the brother of Penelope. So this one again does have communication with family members back home. I did enjoy it. I just felt it was a little bit too cheesy for my liking. There was too many type of movie tropes happening in this one. But I also really liked Luke and how he was there for his siblings. And he was there for this girl he meets and wants to help her out. And so I did really like him. I just didn't really care for the overall story. Okay, then I have Smoke Screen, so 2 S's, by Terri Blackstock. This is a romantic suspense. We are following Nate, who has spent his life fighting wildfires, instead of the lies and rumors that drove him from his Colorado hometown. His mother begs him to come home now that his father has been released from prison, but it isn't until he's sidelined by an injury that he's forced to return and face his past. And that means facing Brianna too. So 14 years ago, Nate was in love with the preacher's daughter. When the pastor discovered that Brianna defied him to sneak out with Nate, the fight between the pastor and Nate's drunken dad was loud and very public. The pastor was then found murdered later that night, and everyone accused Nate's dad. When the church burned down not long after, people assumed Nate had set the fire, even to get even for his father's conviction. He let the rumors fly and left town without looking back. So, what really happened? And what's going to happen with Nate and Brianna? Will they reconnect? Can forgiveness be found between the two families? Did Nate's dad kill Brianna's dad? I really remember enjoying the story. Again, it's been a few years since I've read it. It is one that I also want to reread and kind of refresh myself with it because I really enjoy Terri Blackstock's writing. And it has my favorite, it's my favorite genre. It's romantic suspense. Okay, and then we've got Windswept Way by Irene Hannon. This is book number 9 in the Hope Harbor series, but this is a series that, again, does not need to be read in order. The town and some of the community members carry over, you see them make appearances in various books, but the storyline for each book is separate. They are new main characters that we probably most likely haven't met. I think only one book where you've kind of met somebody, they were a background character and now they're the main character. And then, so the kind of the romance and everything that's going on throughout the book is completely standalone. And in this one, we are following Ashley, who has arrived in Hope Harbor to work for this lady who is a recluse in a mansion. And they have plans of what they're going to do with this property. And this is a property that kind of everybody wants to see, especially inside the mansion, and know about it, and who owns it, and why is she a recluse, and what's going on. Then we've got the next door neighbor, who is a landscaper, who keeps to himself as much as he possibly can. But Ashley and the landscaper kind of connect. But the landscaper is sort of like a recluse himself. Yes, he works outside of his own place, but he doesn't want to become a part of the community. And I really enjoyed following the relationship, the character friendship relationships between various members kind of built. We see the owner of the mansion kind of open up to other people. And I really enjoyed this one. Okay, then honorable mentions for this series in particular. So, Hope Harbor is book number 1 of this series. It introduces you to the town of Hope Harbor and kind of sets up the setting. Then we've got Pelican Point, which is book number 4. Because this is a series that can be read out of order, is not like continued throughout, there are no numbers on the spine. So that's why I had to look at my notes. Okay, then the last one is Blackberry Beach, which is book number 7 of this series. But as I said, each one of these books can be read apart from the others. And all these books, except for The Red Door Inn and Smokescreen, I have videos on them because I have read them since I've had the BookTube channel. But I also have reviews for them on my blog, and my blog can be found in the description below. I don't know if the two that I don't have videos on, if I have reviews on my blog for them or not. And I was going to check before I started, but I forgot. So, sorry. Okay, so 5 more books to talk about. These are the possibilities for me to read to complete the September prompt. So these 5 books I have not read yet at all. No, none of them are rereads. Okay, so the first one is Sandcastle Inn. So we've got the double N in the word inn. This is book number 10 in the Hope Harbor series, and it is a series I would like to get caught up on this year. So this is the next one I need to read to be completely caught up on it. I don't really know. It says family is complicated. Ain't that the truth? But true love doesn't have to be. So Vienna never intended to return for more than a passing visit to Hope Harbor and all the bad memories she's left behind. But when your career tanks, home is where you go to nurse your wounds and chart a new course. Only temporary, of course, because as much as she loves her quirky mum, something more than a short stay would drive them both crazy. And I'm not going to read the next paragraph because I don't want to go in kind of knowing the full thing of what to expect. Okay, then the next book is The Heart's Appeal. So we got a double P in there by Jennifer Delamere. This is book number 2 of the London Beginnings series. Again, this is a series that I would like to complete this year. It was on my priority reads as one of my goals. And it's book 2 of book 3. So I really need to get book 2 read so that I can get book 3 read before the end of the year. It is historical fiction set in London. I know that we're following a sister that we met in book number 1, and that's about all I really know about it. And I don't really want to know much else about it. Okay, then next one I'm going to have to borrow from the library, and that is 3 Missing Days by Colleen Coble. This is book number 3 of the, I want to say Pelican Harbor, but that doesn't sound right to me. Oh, it is Pelican Harbor series. And so this is a series, I only have book 3 left to read, so I'd like to get the series finished this year. And 3 Missing Days is, there's 2 E's, 2 S's, that's it. I thought, was there anything else duplicate? Again, we're following the same characters that we met in book 1, so books 1 and 2 kind of, they have totally carried over from the 3 main characters that we are following, and I expect book 3 to continue that way. Actually, I know book 3 continues that way. It is a romantic suspense, so it's kind of, there's a couple that we've met at book 1. Will they actually get together by book 3? I don't know. I assume so, but I don't know for sure. And if they do, how is it going to happen? Because there's a lot of baggage between them right now. Okay, then I have The Wish Book Christmas by Lynn Austin. So I've got a double O in book. And this is the companion to If I Were You. No. Where does that Lynn Austin book come? Yes. If I Were You. I shouldn't doubt myself on title names, should I? So I read that one earlier this year. This would finish off that duology as well. But again, it's Christmas, so I don't know if I want to read that in September or not. But it is a possibility. Okay, and then the last book is The Lady in Attendance, so double T, which might be what I should do because my name is a double T. Maybe? I don't know. By Rachel Fordham. I have really enjoyed a lot of Rachel Fordham's books that I have read. I own pretty much all her books, missing the two most recent ones, but I've read those ones. And so I would like to continue reading her backlist and get all her books read. And this one, it says, 5 years in a New York State reformatory have left a blemish on Hazel's real name. So when she takes a job as Dr. Gilbert Watt's lady in attendance in 1898, she does so under an alias. In the presence of her quiet employer, Hazel finds more than an income. She finds a friend and a hope that if she can set her tarnished past in order, she might have a future after all. So I'm really intrigued by this, and I really enjoyed her books, and I really enjoy historical. So hopefully I like this one too. Okay, so those are the 10 plus honorable mentions that I'm recommending to you, and then the 5 possibilities that I could read for this prompt. Have you read any of my possibility books? And if so, which one do you recommend? I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video today, and I would love it if you would like and subscribe to my channel and stay tuned for future videos. Have a great day. Bye.